What's up, world? How's everybody doing today, tonight, tomorrow? As I always say, whatever time, realm, dimension you're living in, I hope you're all doing great, feeling blessed. No stress in this crazy world that always tries to drag us down with it, or at least those powers that be make us so frustrated and stressed out. We end up hating the world. We hate everything about it. We have a hard time dealing with people, dealing with it. But that's what they want. You got to remember that. Don't feed into it. Don't let them dupe you in, divide and conquer us, all that stuff. You know, they want you to hate this world, fear this world, but more than anything, they want us to feel that way about ourselves too. You know, people have lost that drive, that inner bit of them that's willing to go outside and take a risk or try to, live outside that comfortability of that matrix they've built around them. We got to learn how to do that as a people again. And I know sometimes I get a little kumbaya, as I would say, the naked bongos, Matthew McConaughey, all right, and that deal, driving a Buick. But, sometimes we just got to realize that's really what we need to do. We got to learn to get along again, because, we can't do all this by ourselves. We can't fight this fight just with us. That one voice is just a voice, it's just some noise in the background, but everybody together, all these voices in sync, working together as one, that can't be ignored. So, I've got some new stuff I want to talk about today, some new evidence. I want to talk about the press conference, Mr. Nervous, pissed off sheriff and his nice, quiet Fed buddy in the background. Also, I want to talk about a little conversation I had with a friend of mine, a Marine, and really, let's just talk about it right now. This weekend, we went on a little walk, a little haunted trail thing they do out in my area, out in the country, and fun little event to do. Last year was much better than this year. This year it was kind of strange. It was just like a bunch of people in a weird petting zoo with pig masks on. Yeah, creepy, but down here in the south, you gotta be careful with them goats tied up like that. So we had a little conversation before we went in about this whole Las Vegas event, and I wanted to get his opinion. I wanted to pick his mind and see what he thought of the whole thing. And right away, he definitely thinks something was off here. This isn't right. He hears that sound. He hears more than one shooter. He hadn't seen all the evidence of more than one shooter yet. But just by looking at this event, hearing what he's heard and seeing what he's seen, so yeah, definitely something's not right here. He even made a statement to me, I believe it was something about, this 64-year-old man, Tom Petty has a heart attack at 66, and this 64-year-old man's like James Bond jumping around in this room. That would tire anybody out. Yet we're led to believe this old guy, this alcoholic, gambling addicted fella, was doing all this. Hey, he could have been, There's always that chance that we're wrong in life about things. It can happen. But we have to take risks sometimes and go out and, throw some things at the wall and see what sticks. It's part of life. I guarantee you, any detective out there doesn't just wait for facts to fall in their lap. They're going to go out there and search, come up with a hunch, look for facts, start to put clues together. Sometimes they might be wrong, sometimes they might be right. And that's a chance you got to be willing to take. But one of the things that he said to me that really kind of stuck out, and he said what it sounded like to him was, back when he was in the Marines, there was a tactic called talking guns. And this is where they would kind of play off of each other's shooting. Three guys could be on some high-powered rifles or full autos, and kind of play off of each other's sound, making it appear that there's one person. You can either attempt to kind of act like the echo of that, or you can kind of overlap them. Same time, they have these ways, these methods, so when they did this, the enemy wouldn't be aware that there was, a bunch of guys all over the place. They would kind of try to make the enemy think, sorry, I'm at a red light. They would try to make the enemy think that, there was maybe only one or two guys up there. And he said that's what this really reminded him of, this Las Vegas shooting, that he could hear that kind of sounds, especially when I played some of the other sounds for him, where you could hear these, different pitches. One thing he was pointing out, you can't have the echo before the shot. It just doesn't work that way. But here, have a look real quick at Talking Guns and see what you think, if you can kind of hear some of those sounds we heard. Alright, so you see what I'm saying, right? You kind of hear that. It almost leads you to believe that they were using a different gun than what they reported, because what you hear there kind of sounds more like what we heard in Vegas. It's, that belt-fed style. It really makes me wonder if this whole bump stock thing was just something they went with, made up, you name it. But that belt-fed, man, it really kind of sounds similar. So, when he pointed that out to me, though, it really kind of started to set in that anybody that would use this kind of tactic more than likely had some kind of military training, military background, CIA, whatever, some kind of government, black ops, underneath the table, X-Files saying we don't, hush hush, don't talk about kind of people. And, that really thickens that whole plot. Really, I guess, reassures those feelings we already had when it comes to these people and who they are and what they're about. So, now in other news, there were some new findings I had this weekend, and I sat on Google Earth for a while. I wanted to look at some things. I wanted to look at just the area, see if anything jumped out at me. And one of the things that jumped out at me, that is 9/11 towers I was talking about. They're in the background behind the stage. And come to realize, after looking at these things, this is a construction site. These things actually have elevators in them that go up to the top. This place was closed off, fenced off construction site to the public. It's been a great place. And this is what kind of made me end up catching my eye on something, was I started looking at a lot of things around the area. Now, one of the things that we do, human nature for us to do, is we always take the narrative story that we're given first, and that's usually what sticks. And I've talked about this before, embedding.
No, we sometimes cling to things because they're familiar and comfortable. I teach about a principle called embedding.
Look at the facts. What did you say embedding was?
Embedding? Oh, embedding is our tendency to latch on to the first bit of information that we're offered and overlooking or even ignoring contradictory information. It's a fascinating...
Shut up. I'm thinking. Do you think it's possible that we embedded?
We take a story, and especially the public who is pretty much brainwashed, the sheeple. I feel sorry for them. Let's not hate them. But they hear that first initial story, and they stick with it. Even though things in the sheriff's press conference changed, a lot of these people might not even hear that. Might not even hear the fact that he said that. They're still going to stick with that first narrative that they heard. So, we got to be careful. So we need to look further outside the whole situation, and be careful not to get caught up by doing that. Now, as I was looking around and trying to look outside that box that's been presented to us, I started to notice these other buildings, these towers, all these other things around it. And you start to think to yourself, well, if I was a shooter, where would I go? I know that's a horrible way to think, but you got to put yourself in the shoes sometimes, right? So I started looking at these other buildings and happened to notice the building behind it. The, oh God, what is it? Delano? Alright. Delano. As I would say, it'd be like Delano. So hopefully that's what it is. If not, It's the building that you keep seeing in the background that looks just like the Mandalay. So I started looking at that building, and I look at it on Google Earth, and I start seeing how the top of it's like a blind built around the whole roof. You could sit up there easily. And that's the other thing, when you realize that if these people were the same people that pull this kind of tactic of, you know, having the talking guns, this would be the same people that know the tactics not to be seen. What kind of suppressors you could use, how to camouflage yourself better, some kind of sniper or something like that. These are skills that this 64-year-old alcoholic gambler would not have. When you start to look at this canopy up on these roofs, you start to realize, man, somebody could hide up there real easily. And also, when I looked at it, I decided to go back and look at the shooting again from an angle where I could see that building. And sure enough, as the shooting starts, you see a light come on or kind of flash in that area. Something lights up. Now, this could be some kind of, you know, some kind of security light, some kind of airplane or heliport light or something, and that I get that it could be. It's just kind of ironic that this thing only seems to light up when the gunshots rain out, and when they stop it goes off. So once again, we kind of have no light coming from the room that was supposedly being shot up, and we have lights in other areas once again showing up. So you got to keep asking yourself. Now, and another thing about that though, with the technology they have, a lot of people when this event started, everybody thought false flag, nothing happened, complete hoax, nobody died. And as time has gone on, I think a lot of us have kind of, you know, gotten out of that and got into more of this just complete slaughter that it was, this setup for these unfortunate people. Now, yes, crisis actors show up. They amplify and push scenarios and narratives, and they want you to kind of, you know, they'll do ways to hoax you into whatever story they have. And the other thing we need to be careful about, they've had a lot of time to manipulate things. They've had a lot of time to manipulate videos, sound, you name it. And with today's technology and the resources they have, They've had enough time now when if they start putting out videos that nobody's seen before, and it starts going with their narrative and not so much with what we've seen with our own eyes, something's probably fishy. And be careful just taking that at face value from these people. So, once again, you know, with the talking guns, all that stuff, how it correlates, I think you all see that. And once again, we have lights are flashing in other places other than where supposedly it was. Now, last but not least, need to talk about the sheriff. Oh, the sheriff, this guy. And I want to be careful when I say this too, because I don't want to go too hard on this guy. From what I understand, his daughter was at the concert. So, granted, the guy could be going through a lot of emotional issues, struggles, anger, could be tired, exhaustion, you name it. So I don't want to go off too hard on him. And we know with these people's past too that they would make threats to somebody if they were going to open up their mouth, you know, and kind of let the story out. They would stop them. So I have to, you know, I don't want to go too hard on this guy, even though the things he said really kind of struck me as funny and odd. His demeanor throughout that press conference was very strange. He seemed confused, mad. I mean, he was telling reporters basically to be quiet. The stories that he went over, I mean, a lot of this stuff that he talked about are very important things, and the way he glances over them like they're nothing. Everything from the talking about the time change from when they believe he got there, from when the security guard got shot, so that means they had more time to know where this guy was and get up there and stop this whole event, but they didn't. Not until over an hour later. You know, all these things that were said. He even talks about the cell phones. Supposedly there were some cell phones found. And he looks back at the FBI agent or whatever this guy is. And he's, you know, like, you know, what do we know about this? And he's like, well, that's not prudent to them. Basically saying that's nothing we need to know. We don't need to worry about that. Which to me is completely opposite. That's a big deal. This guy was communicating with somebody. You could prove, or he wasn't. You could prove, okay, he was by himself. But if he's up there talking to 3 other phones that are right there in the area, you start to wonder. But they're not going to let us know certain things. And I think one of the only reasons they let us know about things like him getting there on the 25th and being there on the 27th was, I got to give the truth community some credit. Now, he kind of bashed online saying that we're getting in the way and messing things up, but I don't see it that way. Just like any other person who's searching for the truth, yeah, you might get something wrong, but, you know, that's 1 out of 5 things that you got right. So, in my eyes, we're helping. But they don't want that. They want to push that narrative that they want. Anywho, like I say, he kind of acted strangely. A lot of strange things were said, so have a look real quick.
For those of you may not know, I'm Sheriff Lombardo of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Today, I'm going to give you an update where we currently are with the investigation. Last week, we talked about the single person whose action helped pinpoint the location of the suspect, and that was the Mandalay Bay security guard Jesus Campos. He was able to confirm for us exactly what he heard and saw in the moments before he was shot. We have uncovered no evidence to show there was a second shooter.
Can you tell us about the note? Was that to cause damage? What were those notes?
What note?
The note that was in the suspect's room.
There was not a note in the suspect's room. We recovered a document that had numbers associated to it, and I'm not at liberty to make a guess on what that was for. It could be. We're figuring that out.
Sure.
So the question is, what drilling was done, or what was the intent of the suspect? There was drilling done. It was to the doorway, adjacent wall to the doorway, and just assumption would be to either place a camera or to place a rifle.
How's Mr. Campos doing?
Can I finish this question, sir?
And he knocked because of the drilling?
No. There's never been anything out in the public forum about knocking. He was investigating an open door. He became of the drilling sound.
Sheriff, what time exactly did Jesus Campos sustain, the injury? What time timeline? What time exactly?
Bear with me while I get that for you. Well, it's fairly simple for me to obtain. What was the question, ma'am?
Can I also ask, in the days...
What was the original question?
What time he got sustained the injury?
$21.59. That would be $9.59.
Say that the security guard was injured, Campos was injured at before 10 p.m. The shots were then fired at 10 p.m. to the crowd. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't know where you're getting your numbers, but you are correct. He was injured prior to the mass volley of shooting.
So to follow that, he's shot at just about 10 o'clock. The shots into the crowd begin at 10:05 and go on for, we said at one point 11 minutes, but 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So can you give us what you think?
Okay, I don't want to get in. I appreciate what you're saying, Ken.
Receipts that have been obtained from the valet security system.
Ma'am, that's not how we conduct this service, okay? If I'm presented with a question...
Timeline change? Because the FBI has reported that...
That's not how I conduct press conferences, ma'am.
Has the official timeline changed? Because...
Please stop asking your question. There's a decorum that we have here, and I will finish Mr. Ritter's question.
Thank you. So if Officer Campos or security guard Campos was shot at 9, just before 10 o'clock, and the shot's out the window, as you described, and there were two about...
So let me help you with that, Ken, because you picked up on it. Yes, the timeline associated with the original shot and Mr. Campos has changed through investigation, as I have conveyed to you from the very beginning. And your zest for information and my zest to ensure the public safety and the calming of their minds is some things are going to change. Now, they are minute changes, okay? There's not this all-encompassing answer associated with the information that we presented before. In other words, it's not completely inaccurate. But what we have learned is Mr. Campos was encountered by the suspect prior to his shooting to the outside world. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean by threat.
Were there any other writings discovered in the room, either numbers or otherwise?
I'm not aware of any. I personally am not aware of any.
Was any delay in his reporting?
No. He immediately upon being injured notified security of his situation.
What was Mr. Paddock doing before the shooting? Is there any evidence that he was gambling that same night, or do you have any video evidence of what he was doing?
We have a pretty comprehensive timeline prior to the shooting, but more importantly, it's up in the public forum. He was gambling the night before. I do not want to disclose his actions up to the shooting because that's part of the investigation. Mr. Campos, not Mr. Campos, I'm sorry, the suspect.
Was there ever a trigger mechanism found that would have led to the car?
A trigger mechanism.
We talked about finding electronics in the room. We talked about it.
Oh, you mean something that would no, the explosives were not set up to another two.
When did the police know that the security guard was shot before the gunshots at 10:05 p.m. or only after the active shooting began?
They weren't aware of him being shot until they met him in the hallway after exiting the elevator.
Sheriff, when did he check into the hotel? And what date did he check into the hotel?
Best of my recollection, we have information on the 25th. I had told you previously the 28th. We're trying to confirm his actions between the 25th and the 28th.
In recent days, we heard reports about cell phones found in the suspect's room. How many cell phones were found, and was there any sort of indication that he might have been communicating with anybody?
Aaron, do you have that information?
I don't think it's prudent to give that out.
Okay. No, we don't have that number. I don't know the number personally.
Sure.
And yes, Yes, I'm frustrated. If you look in the public media, I have noticed in the public forum several assumptions, unconfirmed statements, and actions of this individual put out there, and it makes it very difficult for us to follow the leads that we currently have when we're trying to chase our tail in other directions.
So there you go, everybody. That's our sheriff there, the man who keeps saying, kind of gives you this assumption that he doesn't know a lot of things, even though this is the voice of this investigation. And I kind of find it hard to believe that the voice of the investigation, the guy that's supposed to give us all the updates, doesn't know everything. But then again, maybe that's true. Maybe he's just that voice. Maybe he's that puppet on a string. We don't know what threats have been made to a man like this, and sometimes we have to be careful. Maybe that's where a lot of this guy's animosity is coming from right now, and frustration. Maybe he doesn't agree with this. If you notice, it seems like this guy's had an earpiece in since the very beginning of this whole situation. Like he's just being fed what to say. And now you see he's got a dang Fed standing right behind him. Kind of like that reminder sitting on his shoulder. Don't mess up. So, well, everyone, once again, I gotta say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Really, the support has been amazing. The only thing I could ask of everybody is please share and like. YouTube, funny enough, the day this all happened, they're changing up their analytics again. If you look up Las Vegas false flag shooting or something like that, you're going to get redirected probably to debunked videos, paid operative videos, things like that, going against what a lot of us feel and know is the truth that is out there. So that's the only thing I can ask from everybody. Please help out there. Be truly appreciated by me. The last video made it to like 114 views, or not 114 views, but I think out of 2,000 and something views, it was up to like 114 likes with 0 dislikes, which was crazy. Now, since then, I'm sure the dislikes have been adding up, but that was pretty neat to see a video get that far without being disliked. Everyone, I couldn't do this without you. Truthfully, I could not do these videos and get them out there to the world like I want to do without you all. You really, and a lot of creators, I don't think, give enough credit to everybody out there just by watching a video and hitting a like button, what you do for us. And without you all, really, we're just a bunch of dudes sitting in front of a camera talking to ourselves. Now, yeah, would some of us probably still do that? Yeah. But we really, owe you all a lot, and I thank you, truly. And remember, don't let them divide and conquer us. Don't let them tear ourselves down, because that's initially, that's what they want. They want to make this world so chaotic and make us all so crazy that not only do we tear each other down, but we tear ourselves down, and we can't do that, y'all. We got to come together, not just for ourselves, but for everybody else, and be that one voice and truly fight where we need to fight, and put all that damn aggression and anger and energy towards something that really matters, and not just a left and right scenario. All right, everyone, again, as information comes out about this, I'll get it posted as quick as possible. And as always, more than anything, y'all stay blessed, y'all stay incredible. See ya.